say live. It says this hangout on air is live. We live now.
All
So
right, there we go.
usually this is a lot different from other people that I talk to because I don't even talk to them. I don't even have a pre-chat before I hit the record button. They come online. They're usually from a different country. They're like, "Hey, Scott, I'm here." I'm like, "Good." Record, and then they're like, "Oh shoot!" And then we just start talking about random stuff that ultimately, because the people that I talk to are usually programmers or they work within the the IT space. It becomes really interesting because most people I talk to, they're very logical, right? You work in marketing. Is that fair to
Yeah,
say, or no? That's not accurate.
no, that's accurate. I'm a marketer,
Okay.
and basically, right now we're in the process of launching SalesFunnelRx. So, my name's Tony Dix, and I've got SalesFunnelRx is the name of basically my digital marketing consulting firm that we're going to go ahead and launch into January 1. There's a presence right now, so stuff is there if you go to salesfunnelrx.com, but that stuff is changing. Um, so yeah, my whole background, sales and marketing, and right now I've been making that transition from traditional marketer to that digital marketer, and really getting involved in how to leverage technology to drive revenues for businesses of all sizes, including solopreneurs like yourself.
All right. So I talk about a lot of interesting things, right? You could choose to entertain it or not to. It's whatever. But it wasn't until I moved to Miami where it smacked me hard how important relationships are. Um, I wish I could say building relationships, man. I'm trying to figure out how to create relationships. You know what I mean? And I realized coming from a technical background that it's not really about how good you are or how good you think you are. It's everything to do with how you make people feel, and that's something that I'm not sure if that's just nationwide or global, or are there specific um, areas or demographics where you develop a strategy based on a specific culture of people. Have you have you had to like develop strategies to be able to make people comfortable that will go into business for you or with other people?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, I guess to add a little background to that question, um, for several years, I worked at a global pharmaceutical company, and I was a marketing director there when I left. And one of the things that we found is that culture makes a big difference in the way you try to connect with your audience. Everything's about building relationships, and even if you're selling products or you're doing marketing campaigns or anything like that, you're really trying to figure out how to connect. Um, we focus on a couple things. So the idea is that attitudes and beliefs, which are normally driven by culture or your environment and different things of that nature that one may have encountered, those attitudes and beliefs drive your behaviors. And behaviors are ultimately how you make decisions and things of that nature. So you're looking at things that align to your current behavior, and sometimes you're compelled to adjust or change your behavior. Sometimes you're going to keep your behavior the same. And from the standpoint of running marketing campaigns or trying to influence people towards a certain outcome, you're typically trying to manage their attitudes and beliefs, introduce new ideas, impact their attitudes and beliefs so that they change their behaviors. Um, Last thing I'll say about that is, as human beings, man, we are driven by self-interest. So a lot of times, when you go into a cultural setting, whether it be, Southern Florida versus being up in the Midwest, or it be being over in Asia, even within that set, each person has their own thing, which we call context, that determines why they may want to buy that pair of Nikes, or why they may want to get an iPhone, Samsung Galaxy phone, or, you know, eat out at a restaurant versus eating at home. So there's their intent, I want to eat out, but then there's also their context that typically is that much more individualistic. So as we look at things today and we think about the power of social media and everything, now, as much as there are some big broad categories of similarity, personalization is key, because building that relationship is more and more of a one-on-one experience in everything that we do. So absolutely everything that you said applies, man. Culture, location, personal interest, whatever it may be.
Let's talk about personal interest. I was chopping it up with somebody last night, another entrepreneur that I ride with, and he said something that disturbed me. Me being from up north, or specifically the Midwest, working in corporate America, like I'm used to, like, as a full-time employee, every once in a while having to review a PowerPoint slide presentation or some like webinar where you have to satisfy some type of routine training in regards to ethics, right? And this guy that was on the phone was like, Scott, Miami is different. People take care of themselves first, and then they take care of their people second, and then if they may give you a job as a complete stranger, you know. And so you got to recognize that. You have to recognize reality. You got to recognize what it means to survive, and you have to basically make them feel really comfortable that you're going to take care of them. And the way he framed it made complete logical sense, but the way that I was groomed working in corporate America for American business companies, it's like, so what you saying? And he's like, you gotta let them know you're gonna take care of them, you know. And he said it in a certain type of tone that I got. So, like, where do you draw the line? Now, I've worked at companies where, you know, it is perfectly fine to, when you're trying to attract business, you entertain the client. You get some Loge tickets, you know, for the Cleveland Indians or Cleveland Cavaliers, and you guys, you know, pop some bottles, talk a little bit of business, and it's very informal. But at the same time, it's all about business, but you're getting this person comfortable, right? That's not considered taboo, I don't think. And I'm sure that there's some regulations about how much money you can spend attracting business and also gifts. But is this a part of common business to entertain a client? Or, well, that's just one form, entertaining a client. But, like, what am I not aware of that I should be aware of when trying to really create a relationship before I even get to build it? Or people like me?
I guess at the end of the day, it's leading with value is what I find to be effective, right? It's funny that everybody is motivated by self-interest, but in order for us to achieve our highest potential, we have to be aware of that and not operate the same way, right? So we actually have to operate in that. There's this term of servant leadership, if you will, and say, you know what understanding what people's wants and needs are, and then trying to figure out how we can connect with them on that path. Sometimes in the business situation, right, if you're dealing with a new client, there's always going to be somebody that's spending a lot of money on a client, going out, literally trying to buy the business. But that's not necessarily the client that gets the business at the end of the day. And it's also not the one who gets the repeat business, which is even most important, right? It's almost like you're dating, right? If you met this girl and the whole reason that she's going out with you is because you're going to take her on planes, trains, and automobiles.
Sugar daddy.
Dinners all day. Yeah, right? At some point, you're going to run out of resources, right? That's not the basis for a long-term relationship. Once you get injured and you can't earn the resources that you need to keep that up, she's probably gone, because that's all you built that relationship on, right? So there are some people that will go that route. I wouldn't advise that route. I always think about, however, the total office sell, which means that there are more people in a location wherever you're trying to have influence than that immediate decision maker that have an impact on the decision, and making all of them feel comfortable and trying to build your team of supporters and champions. And a lot of times that you may find while one guy is over there trying to give Mary at the front desk, a break of his check or something like that, or kick her something under the table, really all she wants to do is be recognized as somebody valuable in the organization. You might be able to achieve that just by having a nice conversation with her, asking her, what's important to her. Maybe she wants to talk about her family, or maybe she wants to talk about her pets, whatever. A lot of times you may find that you can create that connection without having to do things that people take as customary, which is, break them off with gifts, exorbitant gifts, or other types of things. So I think the idea would be to genuinely be interested in people. And as you're interested, then, you also become interesting, and you may better be able to assess whether this is somebody you want to do business with that's willing to operate within your ethical grounds or not. And frankly, for anybody, if this organization, the only way you can get down is something that goes beyond what you feel comfortable doing ethically, then it just shows it's not the right customer for you. It just doesn't matter how much it is. The cost is way greater than the gain.
That makes sense. I think it's challenging to. Can you turn on the volume on your machine, or if you have a headset?
Is that better?
Yeah, I just started hearing myself. I didn't hear myself earlier, but I don't hear anything now. So we're still good. You hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that kind of hit me like a brick when it comes to wanting to extend your reach into markets or regions that you don't fully understand. And so, yeah, I appreciate you breaking that down to me. So,
and when you say that too, I'm also reminded of there's a book by Reid Hoffman. I believe it's Reid Hoffman behind LinkedIn. It's called The Startup of You. And I think something very important is this. When we're thinking about the recruiting scene, whether it be that we run our own business or whether we work for another company, now more than ever, everybody is technically an entrepreneur, because the original definition of entrepreneur had to do with someone who takes resources from one area that's underperforming and puts it in another area that's higher performing. So frankly, if you decide that you're hungry and you go take some dollars and buy a pizza so that your family can eat, that's an entrepreneurial decision. All right. That's just it. I don't care what anybody else says about all this, like what kind of value you create and you're doing this and that. Every day we move some resources which are limited to another area in order to provide an outcome. That's entrepreneurship, because that's risk. You're putting it over there. You don't know when you're going to get it back. And sure, you may have a W-2 where you're going to get paid every couple of weeks, but guess what? You don't know when you're going to have that job anymore, right? So what it forces you into is acknowledging yourself as an entrepreneur at some level that's comfortable for you, even if you're working for someone else. And it talks about the importance of building out your personal brand as if it's a product. And the deal is that when we build out our personal brand like it's a product, then now we're able to sell a product in an interview environment or straight to customers if we're out there trying to secure contracts. What that does is it empowers us, because now we get to define what kind of value we create. When we define the value we create, then now we have an opportunity to opt in or opt out to an opportunity to fulfill another employer's need or a client's need. So I think what happens there is it creates a power shift. so that now we can go into these environments and we can build these relationships and say, hey, this is what I can do for your organization. This is why I do what I do. Kind of like Simon Sinek always begin with why. This is why I do what I do, which makes me unique to someone else that may do the same thing. This is how I do it that leads me to create these great results all the time. And what I do, I just happen to be a .NET app developer. You know, I just happen to be this person over here. I just happen to do this other thing over here. That's the what, right? But when we have power to define our why and our how, that's the basis of our value. And we can do different things, right? We can say, hey, listen, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you half. I'm going to bill you half of my rate for a couple of weeks. Or you know what? I'm going to give you a satisfaction guarantee. You know what? Take my rate. And at this point, if you don't like it, boom, I'll refund you. Matter of fact, I'll double refund you. If you take a look at some of these internet marketers online right now, Onyx Singhal, Neil Patel, Russell Brunson, and different things that they deploy when they're launching new products, they've always got, or if you just read the 4-Hour Workweek, where, where even in there, he's talking about things like, you know, double your money back guarantees and things of that nature. These are all things that we could technically institute in our negotiations, right? When putting a deal together to make it more attractive. Because first we're trying to get you introduced to the product so that you know that and feel good that you've made a good decision. Then after that, we're going to get it back to regular price so that we can make sure we're maximizing our value, and we're going to drive through and deliver results. And once we start delivering results, in addition to that, and people are knowing us for delivering results and coming and seeking us by name rather than just seeking a developer, they're seeking Scott Nimrod, or a marketer, a marketing consultant, they're seeking Tony Dix. When that happens, then all of a sudden that puts us more in that premium value category. Because I'm willing to bet that Jay-Z and Michael Jordan don't have to negotiate that much, you know, for what kinds of deals are going to come through, or Taylor Swift for that matter, right? She was making big last time. But the big thing is your brand, or the power of your brand, is always more valuable than whatever it is you do functionally. So you have to build the brand. That's the only thing that allows you to commit to command margin.
You know,
anybody.
You know what's interesting though is I thought I heard you say something to the effect of like your brand is your product. I heard something like that. They may not be the actual words that you used, but my brand, if I can even call it that, I don't think it's really based on, I don't think I really have like a product or service. My brand is really putting out to the world recently my journey of me trying to get to a certain point and demonstrating, you know, where I started off at. I'm fumbling down the field. I'm moving the ball down the field, but I am fumbling. I am clumsy, and so is that paradigm, or is that type of like, I guess paradigm is the best word I could think of, where someone is really fumbling down the field until they finally hit touchdown. Is that a credible strategy, or should it always be locked in on portraying your brand as nothing personal, but something really tangible, as this is the product that I bring to you. This is the service that I bring to you, instead of, hey, come into my world and observe my journey as I grow and ultimately deliver. Like I guess right now it seems as if some people, such as myself, may be making things too personal and not necessarily professional. You understand what I'm trying to articulate?
Honestly, today we're in a social economy, and your personal brand is part and parcel with your professional brand. If you ever listen to like a Gary Vaynerchuk, Crush It and whatnot, you know, he delivers a whole, delivers a whole book on that, and everything that he talks about takes you down that realm. What I'd say, Scott, man, is not that you don't have a brand. Everybody's got a brand. Whatever somebody else says about you, however you're perceived by anyone else, is your brand to some extent. Now, You've got the brand that you intend to portray, and then you've got the brand that others perceive. And that's why we have marketers, right? Because you're always trying to bridge that gap of intention versus perception. Right now, what I hear you saying is that you're taking the strategy of execute, execute, execute while you try to find your authentic voice.
Yep.
You know, and that's where a lot of us are, especially when you get down to your personal life. It's easy to be a big box IBM kind of thing and say, yeah, this is what we stand for. It's harder when you look at the complexities of us as individuals and try to say, you know, what is my definite purpose? You know, what am I, what impact do I really want to leave on the world when I leave? And how do I make sure that the things I'm doing every day are aligned to that impact that I want to leave? But that impact that we want to leave is the basis of our personal brand. And I'm going to give you, and hopefully this is helpful to your listeners, but, you know, I used to run this exercise with my sales reps and also with some other companies and trying to help them define brands, whether it be for an individual or a product. And it's basically a brand identity map. First, it's got 4 squares. The first square you fill out is what's your function, your basic function. This is what I do. I'm an accountant, you know, I'm a hotelier. I'm a software developer, right? That's the function. But the second box here is going to be your source of authority. So what's your source of authority, Scott? What are your credentials or what testimonials from other people or anything like that out there in the atmosphere confirm that you've got the goods? You got what it takes to deliver value as a developer, you know? The third box is what are your differentiators? So what is it about how you get the job done or how you do it that makes you different from other people who also do what you do? The next block is the personality that says, all right, so what are the personality characteristics that embody you, what you're about, how you get things done? You know, is it that I'm fun? Is it that I'm hard-nosed? Is it I'm sarcastic? You know, is it that I'm scrappy? Whatever it may be, right? A lot of times, by the way, that fourth little box is what they may use to create different things that exude the personality of the brand, whether it be the colors that get selected or any kind of thing like a Ronald McDonald icon or anything else, you know, imagery that may affect it. But those 4 boxes allow you to start putting that story together. And in the middle, what you end up capturing is you use 1 or 2 words, a couple words, short phrase. I normally like to cut it off from 1 to 3 words. That's going to be the essence of that brand. You know, it may be can't stop, won't stop. It may be transformation. It may be, you know, anything that kind of combines those 4 blocks. And from that, you're able to create what's called a customer promise or a promise statement that says, yo, this is who I am. This is how I deliver value to a group of people that I think I can help. And I won't go into specifics. If anybody looks up promise statement, there are different structures you can use. But generally speaking, the idea is you do want to identify who is it that you're going to help. You're going to, based on what you have to offer, you're taking them from a from state, from a before state to an after state that's better than what they were experiencing before as a result of interacting with you and what you have to deliver, product or service or otherwise. And that's it. So going through that exercise is generally helpful. And, you know, I've got some tools that if it's helpful, I may share so that, you know, people can just, you know, fill out those boxes and hopefully get a little bit closer to identifying what they want that brand to be and being more productive and more purposeful in how they're living each day.
So I'm looking at, I'm back on the YouTube app because there's 2 different apps, the Google Hangout and the YouTube. And Thomas, which I talked to him like last Sunday or something. He says, great stuff, Tony. You just got some props. But
appreciate it.
Yeah. That makes sense. And that's something that I don't think I've really been doing is my workflow and my effectiveness is completely different than the mainstream developers. My feedback loop is completely different, right? It's more optimized than the mainstream developers. But what I have failed to do is I have failed to broadcast that and how I actually do it to the people that are actually writing the checks. And so there's something that you mentioned earlier. You remember you had made a reference to Michael Jordan, um, Taylor Swift. I
Taylor
don't
Swift,
know
Tiger
who that
Woods.
is. Tiger Woods. You do you remember what you said about them?
Yeah, it's funny because I remember must have been around 2013. I did some research. I put together a whole presentation around the fact that they make more money. Think about it, like Taylor Swift is a music artist. Guaranteed she made more money beyond album sales than she made with her album sales alone. Tiger Woods always made more money off the course than he's made on the course, right? Because Michael Jordan, same thing. The deal is that when you've established your brand and now people are influenced by you, then everybody else wants hold of that attention. That's the beauty of the marketing, right? And so the deal is that anybody else who wants to get in front of your fans, your audience, or the people who want to do what you do, is willing to pay you exorbitant funds in order to capture that business. And so, that's how you end up with situations where LeBron James, like the money he was making off of endorsement deals far usurped how much he was supposed to be making for playing basketball. So the idea is that by building up your brand and your fan base, your audience, your influence, your circle of influence, that is what's actually going to generate the most income for you if you monetize it.
So
if you monetize it, then you're actual showing up and doing whatever your primary function is that you specialize in.
Okay. So here's a challenge, and you can send me the invoice in the mail, right? Is the difference between your when you have your Tiger Woods, your Michael Jordan, your LeBron James, Taylor Swift, etc. The people that they have more spectators than they have people that they work with. So what I mean by that is they work with the coach, they work with other basketball players, they work with the referee, but that is a small fraction. It's like orders of magnitude difference compared to the number of spectators that follow them, right? It's like millions. So why am I saying all this? Because I feel like it's easier for them to get recognized because the infrastructure has already been, or the foundation has already been laid. Hence, the internet and television for these people to get on a platform, for millions of people to already observe, right? And then they become a cash cow, right? Because they're already on a platform. That there's already people waiting. There's already people looking at the platform. They just walked on stage. Okay, that's the way I look at it. The difference between the entertainers like athletes or singers and people such as myself, the programmer, is that the people that know me are programmers, right? The people that know me are the managers or stakeholders of those specific businesses that I've worked at. No one knows me. There's no platform that I could get on, but like, hey y'all, look how great I am, or how great I think I am. It's not the same like the same platform that your Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan is on, and maybe I'm sure that's a fault in my belief system because there's not something I'm not seeing. I'm not sure how to put myself out there so that people can recognize not other programmers, because right now the people that subscribe to my YouTube, the people that visit my technical blog, the majority of people that say, yeah, I heard of Scott. Interesting fellow. they're all developers. They are not the people that are writing the checks. And so that's the plateau that I'm on right now. Do you kind of understand what I'm trying to articulate?
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to articulate, and I would beg to differ. I mean, granted, if you look at it from the standpoint of the way you think about monetizing your talent right now is with a company that is looking to hire a gun to deliver a deliverable, right? And that's the shortfall there. Because the deal is that you're doing like a Michael Jordan, Taylor Swift, whatever. You think about it, two things. One, what we see by the time they have all that support and platform surrounding them is the product of a long time of not having that same thing, right? There was work that had to go into getting to that point. So that's one thing. And two, I see right now that you're actually creating an audience similar to that. It doesn't matter that perhaps there's other app developers and other people in your space, but the deal is that right now, by virtue of your YouTube channel, your blogging, and some of those other things, you're creating an audience. And as you build this audience of people, then you are putting yourself in a position to be more of an influencer. As you become more of an influencer and more recognized for your skill set, your knowledge, especially as you're able to train other developers on things that are helpful, because that's a sign of expertise as well, whether your peers can get better as a result of what type of feedback, coaching, and learning they can derive from you, or knowledge they can derive from you. As that happens, then you have more of an opportunity to get some of those gigs within a big organization, because they're going to be looking for Scott that they heard is so great in this space. But additionally, your audience is also a source of support and monetization. So there's probably someone who is getting value from the interviews that you're doing with people that would love to be able to come back and review some of the highlights or takeaways from some of your speakers over the course of X number of months. And you put that into a book, and then you make it available. There's somebody that says, hey, you know what? I really like how Scott breaks down these different aspects of being a .NET developer. I'm looking to get involved in that space. Sure, if Scott puts out a 12-week course, crash course on some cool things that you need to know in order to move from this level to that level of skill and proficiency as a .NET developer, I'll pay to take that course. $47, $109, whatever it is. These things are happening all the time. So the way I look at it is this. We're at a point where everybody needs to think about entrepreneurship. They need to think about creating multiple streams of revenue beyond the day-to-day gig, because that gives you more financial freedom and empowers you to live the life that you want. So I think this thing about being a lifestyle entrepreneur, rather than it being this kind of, hey, look at him, lifestyle entrepreneur, that's kind of cool. Maybe I wish I could do something like that. I think we're in a space now where we can get on any medium we want and make our voice be heard. As we find our authentic voice, we should make a point to do that. And see, I don't care if you got 50 people following you, 100 people, 1,000 people, but if there are people that we can impact, then that takes our life from being a successful life to a significant life. And then if we create value for people, then it's okay for us to extract a little value from the relationship in the form of create some products that are lasting, that last beyond us on this earth, and put some money in your pocket, because people hate to be sold, but people love to buy. And it's just a matter of finding something that we believe in. It doesn't require you to be salesy. It requires you to not be innovative, but to solve a problem. So if you're getting a bunch of questions, even on your comment thread, answer those questions, answer them through a blog, answer them through another episode of the show, then put all of that stuff into a book. Because if these people had the question, there's probably other people out there that have the question. And now you've got the ultimate guide to whatever questions that are being asked, and it becomes another source of monetization. So you can be Jordan, but maybe you're not a mega celebrity. Maybe you're micro celebrities, but now more than ever, or today more than ever, we have the opportunity to do that. And if we're not doing it, it's our own fault. There are resources out there to help you do it. And some of even what I do with marketing clients is to help them at least attach to the resources that allow them to do it themselves, do it with help via consulting, or I've got a team, a creative team where we could do done for you services and build it. Each of those have different cost levels attached, but as you kind of progress through the rungs, it makes a lot of sense.
So there's something you said about questions, people having questions. And there's someone called C++, well, that's his logo. There's someone called Programming, that's his YouTube name, that says, how important is it to stick to a single logo over time? Shoot. So do you deal with actual branding, as in like consistent imagery or anything like that?
Absolutely. I mean, let's get one thing out there real quickly is that anybody who thinks marketing is just advertising or just logos and colors and designs is sadly mistaken. Marketing is everything that has to do with gaining and retaining a customer. All the way from, hello, my name is, I saw your billboard somewhere, to, hey, I'm having a technical issue with my product and I'm trying to get help on it. That's all marketing functions. So when it comes to logos, you don't have a problem changing your logo. Has a certain amount of equity in it, right? So the risk of changing your logo is only as deep as people associate your logo with a certain meaning or something that they're willing to pay more for. All right. So that's why sometimes when you have big brands and they do a logo refresh, then you get this kind of backlash from customers and things of that nature. Now, if your logo isn't used so much that it tells a story in and of itself, like what do you think of when you see Coca-Cola? You think of something, I get thirsty. Right? Yeah, it quenches my thirst, like refreshing beverages, right? The deal is that same exercise I took you through.
Also see red and white colors that I think about when I think about Coca-Cola. I immediately have imagery, and all of a sudden I start like swallowing saliva. But yeah.
There you go. Right. The whole exercise around building a brand, and actually if you, and all big brands go through basically the same structure that I shared with you all, and then to come up with this promise statement, right? That brand identity map. But here's the deal. The whole idea is you want to be able to shake somebody in the middle of the night and flash your logo or say your brand name and them say something that relates to what your promise is, what value it is that you say you create for the world, right? Mm-hmm. So listen, if you don't feel like your logo is where you want it to be just yet or fully represents what you want it to be, and you don't have a business that's like already being driven on autopilot off the strength of that logo, then don't even think twice about changing it. When you change it, try to make sure that it embodies the values of your organization and something that you want people to associate visually with what you do, and make sure you use it everywhere, right? FavCon for your website, shirts that you're wearing, because if you're not really using the logo to brand yourself, then it doesn't have any value by itself, right? So, it's not till you actually create value around that logo that people recognize it as meaning something, that it actually has a value or any risk to changing it. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I only have like one viewer, but yeah, that was good. I guess my other question is, I know this may be unfair because it probably requires some thought to really think about it. But like, what do you think is the biggest mistake, the number one mistake that people make when it comes to marketing themselves or their product or services? Like, what's the biggest thing that just screams out that is out of maybe complete ignorance that you see that you can help people with?
The biggest thing is a campaign, having a campaign mindset, right? Understanding that you don't just need to get the word out so people know about you. You know, you need to, you're taking, what you're trying to do is you're trying to take strangers and convert them to visitors. You're trying to get them someplace, right? And I guess these days, the place that we want to get them is normally some type of web-based platform, ideally your authority site, website, whatever it may be, that you use as your station where you want to bring everybody to learn more about you, right? You turn strangers into visitors. Then your next marketing task is to change those visitors into actual leads. That means, hey, I just said, hey, my name's Tony. And then I asked you for your number. You give me your number. So now my next goal, now you're a lead. You're someone I can actually interact with. Hey, maybe you'll be my girlfriend at some point. I'm not sure. We have an opportunity to get to know each other better, right? The next thing is I want to invite you out to dinner so that hopefully I can close you into a customer. And now, you know, we've identified that we both are a good fit for each other. And that's the other thing is I'm not looking to only sell myself so that this person wants me. I need to make sure that they're also good for my business because this is a relationship, right? So that's the next task is turning them into a customer. And then it's still not over. Sure, we had transaction and what have you, but now after that, my job is to keep you coming back for more, right? And that's the relationship. Now we're married, we're joined at the hip. I need to keep you happy and delight you every day, or else it's going to hurt my business as well, right? And that's basically the chain. And as we get to that point, those people become promoters that send us more, that turn more strangers into visitors, visitors into leads, leads into customers, and then more promoters. And that's how it gets bigger. So the deal is that sometimes I feel people silo marketing at different points of that journey and don't understand that it's actually cyclical. And sales is a part of marketing. So all of that activity, sales, customer support, content creation, advertising, whether it be paid or organic, that's all of it. And 80% of what you do is probably marketing. It's the most important part of your business. And so that campaign mindset, I think, is the gap. And that's something I think people need to go ahead and embrace. And if you want to learn more about it, there are a lot of resources out there. You could check me out at Tony Build Brands on Facebook. It's at the SalesFunnelRx. I'm also at Tony Build Brands on pretty much everything else. There's no S on the Build Brands. But I try to kick out resources and articles and different things that are interesting to me that kind of reinforce that same idea or mindset. You could also look up inbound marketing in HubSpot.com, and you'll see a lot of free literature and learning out there about these things. But yeah, that's the number one gap: campaign mindset. Marketing is the most important thing. Everything is marketing.
Yeah, so like at the end of this, if you could just give me all the links so I could just throw it inside the description. I'm pretty bad at writing descriptions or capturing notes, but so people can navigate to that content. That's it. Like, I don't really have anything else to say. You've answered a lot, and thanks. Like, I meant this to be a conversation, but I feel like I was just trying to get as much value from you as possible. So I'm sorry.
Hey, it's all good, man. Thanks for having me on. Anybody has any questions, anything like that, you could always email me at Tony, Tony, at SalesFunnelRx.com. Tony Dix, Dicks. That's a true story. That's the name. And yeah, look me up, man. And it's a pleasure as usual.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything else you need to get out? You're on Twitter as well, right?
I'm on Twitter as well. It's all at Tony, Tony, Build, BUILD, Brands, BRANDS.
All right, so that's essentially your internet username. So that's it. I appreciate it. If there's not anything else, I'm going to hit the stop broadcast in 3, 2, 1.